Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Red Dead Weapons. Today we're going to be doing a revolver that most people in Red Online used to consider overpowered as shit. And everyone would use it to act like they're Josie Wells or the man with no name and shit. Talk about the Navy Revolver, which in-game has a high rate of damage, good fire rate, slow reload, high accuracy, and is deadly as fuck because the power. But most people try to argue, say, oh, it's black powder, it shouldn't be that powerful. But yeah, it's black powder, sure, it may be outdated and whatnot. But anyway, to get into the info and the history behind this weapon, we gotta go back to 1850. For a little rundown, this gun was used by countries from the U.S. all the way to the Second Mexican Empire, for fuck's sake. And was used in like the Taiping Rebellion, the New Zealand Wars, the Second Schleswig War, whatever the fuck it was. It was used in a lot of wars and by a lot of folk. Hell, Buffalo Bill had a pair of these. Now, this gun was designed in 1850 by Samuel Colt. First started design in 1847. The gun, you may be knowing this revolver as the Navy. Most people know this as Navy, but before the Navy, there was also the Colt Walker, which, if you didn't hit the fucker and kill him with the gun's bullets, you could turn the damn Walker on its side and just use it as a club to club a horse. And yes, there are historical instances where people would take the Navy's 1851 Navy revolvers, the Colt Walkers, and club horses to death just for the hell of it. And I am not joking. That is an actual historical fact, folks. Anyway, this gun is a cap and ball revolver, though there were cartridge conversions of these in 38 rimfire and 38 centerfire. But this was on the third conversion type, and were later put on the rolling white patent after the owner of the patent's license expired and whatnot. Anyway, there was about 273,000 of these revolvers made, and they were produced from 1851 to 1873. There are variants of it. There's a pocket model, there's a square back trigger guard Navy model, and those were about 4,200. Those are just custom models and shit. In game, most of the time, in terms of PvP and shit, like fighting, most of the time people will either use navies or they'll use the semis and the Mausers because they give out the most damage and all that shit and have high accuracy and whatnot. Because most of the time, if you're fighting shit, you're not going to see people using revolvers. If you do, they're going to be probably using the navies or the semis or Mausers. The semis and Mausers are modern pistols and shit. Anyway, this gun had a muzzle velocity of 840 feet a second and 256 meters a second for those who are English or whatnot. And yeah, these guns were pretty much a improvement on the Colt Patterson revolvers and like Colt pocket percussion revolvers and such. Pocket percussion revolvers were 31 calibers and evolved from the earlier baby dragoons and shit. And pretty much these guns are mechanically improved and simplified the Senate of the 1836 Patterson revolver. And those who wonder what that is, it's pretty much the fucking first ever revolver Sam Colt ever made. And he sold this to like Texas infantry and shit, and like it was used like in the Second Seminole War, Texas Revolution, and whatnot. Like those guns were massive. Like they had long ass barrels. They were heavy. They were on like they would put them in saddle holsters because how heavy they were. Like, and they were quite deadly because Texas Rangers, like the Texas infantry, managed to get some of these for their soldiers and shit. And those who had them, they'd dual wield them and shit, or like one wield them and whatnot, single hand them. And the people that are fighting would be wondering, like, how the fuck are they shooting us this quick? They had these revolvers, and they were deadly with them. The guns are not to be fucked with. They may be black powder and somewhat considered outdated, but they'll still kill a motherfucker. Hell, at the Battle of Campeche in Mexico in 1843, the Texas Navy obliterated the Mexicans with these revolvers. And no, these guns were not used by the fucking Navy. Alright, it's just a Texas nation. But because they were mainly purchased by civilians and military land forces. These bullets are 36 caliber. These revolvers are 36 caliber, and the round lead balls contain about 80 grams of powder and 1,000 feet per second. It's pretty much comparable to a 380 in modern cartridge. But yeah. But on a side note, I wonder if there's any other calibers for these revolvers. There's a 34 caliber conversion, and a 40 caliber conversion, but those are really rare. Not that common. For the cartridge conversions, though, they pretty much consist of a tapered brass cone pressed into the muzzle of the top barrel flat with a notch in the top of the hammer, as with most Colt percussion revolvers. Now the replicas of these are made like by Patterson and like the Italian companies and shit. They're actually really good, really well made. Like you can buy them for like $100, $80, depending on what type you get. Going back to what I was saying though, the conversions are 38 centerfire and rimfire. So if Rockstar wanted to make these like a cartridge gun, they could have. They totally could have, but they want to go for like the badass like black powder look. And anyway, to get into this, where I'm going is, and people are going to, and this is historical usage here. This gun was very popular, it was used a lot, but by this time period, unless you're shooting a 38 cartridge conversion, which I doubt many people would be, there's a lot better revolvers on the market at this time. Unless the dude, like the person was a pouring out, broke some bitch who couldn't afford a modern gun, they probably use this. Which is why they have the Moonshiner update. Because Moonshiners were people who made liquor were considered backwards and shit and all that, and they didn't have much funds to fund their shit. So they probably would pick up this, and probably they could get these guns for like $5. Like back in the day, you probably pick this gun up for like $2 or like 80 cents back in the day. Like shit. But nowadays these guns go for like thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions of dollars. That's how valuable these guns are. If I could go back in time, I'd buy me a fuck ton of these and Colt Walkers and like other antique guns and bring them back to the mall and just sell them for a pretty penny. That's how fucking cheap these guns were. In terms of uses though, like I said, they're outdated, they're black powder, sure you got the cartridge conversion, but not a lot of people are going to be using this. People are going to be using like the Colt Single Action Army and shit, like Schofields. Like the US Army was using Schofields, they were switching, like the US Army, they were switching between the Schofield, Smith & Wesson, they were switching between the Colt Single Action Army, and then they switched to the double actions in game, which was a Colt Model 1890 police model, new model police. They shoot 38 ACP, 38 Colt, long Colt, yeah. But do I think they're overpowered? Rockstar has tweaked them where they're not as powerful, but if anything, they should have a slower fire rate. Like, sure, it's a revolver and shit, but the single action arm in this game should be on par with the damage of this. Like, sure, it's a starting revolver, but the Colt Navy shooting black cap and ball, yeah, that's black powder and shit, but it's not that effective. A modern cartridge of 45 Colt in this time period would fucking decimate your ass. If anything, they should buff the Colt's damage or the fire rate, because it's Colt. Like, they should buff the damage with Colt single action in this game. Anyway, that's enough of my rambling. Overall, historically accurate, sore mutt. There's not going to be a lot of folk using it. I mean, aside from maybe the only Raiders. But then again, they're a bunch of ex-fucking Confederates. Fucking bushwhackers. Anyway, overall, accurate, yes. Common, no. Overpowered, you could argue it is, depending on the person who's using it. But that's just me. Shit. Anyway, that'll be it for this episode of Red Dead Weapons. Hope y'all enjoyed. Next episode, I'm going to be doing the Smith & Wesson probably, or the... Have I done the rolling block? I gotta do the repeating shotgun. Yeah, I gotta do that. Anyway, thank y'all for watching. Good luck out there, and peace. Ep17.